We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
good afternoon, welcome to NUFC Matters, talk of the Toon with me, Sid, and Rob, who joins halfway through. Good afternoon, Sid.
Hello, how are you doing?
Very good, mate. Songs from the Attic 1977 is his YouTube channel. Go and subscribe there if you like a bit of music crack. Well worth giving it a sub, and we'll be talking a bit music halfway through the show after the ads. But first, let's look back at the match of the weekend. Game of two halves, Sid.
Yeah, sorry, these backgrounds are clashing with my eyes at the minute. I've only got mine on because my wife's dress, or is it my wife's, is hanging up in the background there, you know. So anyway, sorry. The match of the weekend, it was a strange game. I mean, it was never a 5-1, was it? Yet it was. It was a game where we could have easily been 4 down first half, and I don't think anybody could have grumbled. We were terrible, absolutely terrible. We just came out so lethargic, and as if we had to just turn up and we would win. I think that was the sort of impression that I got, as if the lads were not that bothered. We just rock up, we'll beat them anyway, you know, and it's not a big deal. And that was the impression that I got. I thought we were awful. And then second half, it was interesting. I was listening to one of the other podcasts, and the guy on it was actually quite funny. Sheffield United fan, he goes, "We'll go 1 up, and then we'll run out of steam after an hour." And that's exactly what happened. You know, they played for an hour, played quite well, and then they just ran out of steam. And obviously, lack of class as well. They've got no real players of any worth on that team. It was a poor team. But can I just say their fans were fantastic. So well done to them. They were top draw right to the end. Not like some of the teams when we've battered other teams who've gone after 3 goals. They all stood there. Virtually all were person there, man and woman and child, and we're all there singing on and clapping their team. So tremendous, really well done to them. The first United as well. Let's remember they were the first United, aren't they? Sheffield United. So it was an odd performance. I thought Newcastle. I mean, we were clinical at times. Isak. Unbelievable. I mean, it was such a good finish. It didn't look like a chance. It was a nice ball by Murphy, but it didn't look like a chance. And it was odd because the ground sort of went, "Yep, good." That was it. There was no big massive applause. It was like, "Yep, next." And it was a strange old game. I mean, there were some good performances. Isak, as I say. I thought Gordon is always good at home, always good. He was superb again. He got the penalty, created a goal with his free kick. Can I also add, he's got to now be in the shout for free kicks and corners. It can't just be Kieran Trippier all the time. It's got to be that Gordon as well. Mix it up, absolutely. His delivery is really, really good. I didn't know he had that in him before he came to the club. Superb, absolutely superb. Who else was good? Burn was magnificent. I thought they'd scored when Burn managed to somehow get his leg in the way, his tree trunk leg to knock it wide. I thought that was an obvious goal, and he did really well. 2 or 3 great saving tackles, which we shouldn't have had to do, by the way. Who else was good? Wilson actually looked really good when he came on. Looked really sharp for as long as he's fit. I mean, for me, Wilson, I hope he scores a few more goals, bangs his price up, and then they'll sell him in the summer because he won't be here next year. I'll be absolutely stunned if he is. Shaw was clearly off the pace. He was awful, let's be honest. Longstaff, you know, and I hate to say it, but he almost gave 2 goals away. One of his passes was so bad that they ran down the other end and should have scored realistically. It was such a bad ball. I mean, 10-yard pass. I can appreciate if you play with an injury, that's fine, but you can still pass a ball 10 yards. Even I can do it at my age, pass a ball 10 yards. I can't say I can play football anymore, but I can still pass a ball 10 yards. But no, it was a disappointing performance. Hall did quite well, certainly in the second half in particular. Midfield was not great. I'm a huge fan of Elliot Anderson, as you know. I thought he was just all right. It was a sort of nothing game, really, in a funny sort of way. Yeah, we'll give away 5-1, where normally the game would be bouncing, but it was like everybody just like, well, yeah, great, next, let's move on, and that was it. It was a very strange game, strange atmosphere, and just felt sorry, but for their fans, and that was really it.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games. I mean, the pre-match crack with the Sheffield United fans was, well, we want to get relegated today because we don't want Notts Forest to send us down. You know, that was like a lot of them had said. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they made a day of it. There was 3,200 of them, and they made themselves heard in the first half. I think the first half, unfortunately for us, we did get off to a disjointed start, and they just seemed to be dominating the midfield. And unfortunately for Sean Longstaff again, everything was coming through him. There was misplaced passes. There was, he was trying to turn, and when he was turning into danger. And I think ultimately we had a situation which, was of our own doing. And you're quite right. If we'd ended up by, going in three or 4 goals down in the first half, we couldn't have complained. Yep. But luckily we didn't. And that is the difference between having somebody like Alexander Isak up front and not having somebody like Alexander Isak up front. You get somebody like him. He's a 20-goal striker. He's got 19 Premier League goals. He's 2 behind Haaland, and he's got a great chance with the remaining fixtures that Newcastle have got. He's got a great chance of getting that potential golden boot. So he's on shows this week and as we'll probably discuss over the next couple of days, because I'm pre-recording a few shows as I'm away at the weekend and away at the start of next week. I've pre-recorded a few shows, and we've talked about Alexander Isak on those shows. But I want to ask you, I mean, where does he stand on your list of strikers? We're going to do your dream team tomorrow, which people are going to be able to see. We won't give any spoilers on that. But where does he stand for you? And it's amazing when you read the list, and I always point this out. The Premier League has only been around since the early 90s. There was people before that. So really where does he stand on the list before the Premier League? Because there were some great strikers before that.
Of course there were. I mean, I can only talk about what I've seen, so I can't talk about the likes of, Jackie Milburn and all that. I can't talk about them. I can't talk really about Pop Robson, although, of course, I watched him playing for Sunderland and various other teams as well. Did he play for Southampton? I can't remember now. But West Ham. But I mean, you look at McDonald, Supermac, who was outstanding, of course, and Supermac would be £120 million striker these days. Although I'm sure Malcolm doesn't really want to hear that now. But he would be up that territory, and I would argue that Isak might even be higher. That's the ultimate praise because of the fact that he's got something that Supermac probably didn't have, and that's the fact that he's able to sort of beat a player with sheer skill in moving in and out and sort of weave in and out of players. Whereas Supermac was more of a sort of Shearer type, wasn't he? Strong, great in the air, super quick, obviously, much quicker than anybody we've probably ever had. But yeah, I think Isak's right up there. The best I've ever seen in the air is Les Ferdinand, along with Duncan Ferguson, of course, although Ferguson probably had a good foot head start on him. But it's as a cold finisher, I think Cole's the best I've seen in the box.
Yeah.
Shearer's the best all-round striker. It's hard to say, but he's in that category. So that's the highest praise I can say. He's in that category. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I had a conversation with a couple of mates playing golf, and I predicted that Isak would score 25 plus goals this season if fully fit. And of course, he's been missing for half a season, and he's already got 20-something goals, 23, I think it is, in all competitions. And they laughed at us, And I thought, well, he's clearly got it. And I would have him all day over Haaland because he offers more. He offers more as a player. And I'm not denigrating Haaland at all. He's an outstanding finisher. But I think and it's going to sound stupid here, he's got nothing else to his game, apart from banging in 40 goals a season. But he has nothing else. Isak's got much more. He can hold the ball up. He can bring people into play. He can drop back. He can go on the wing. He can create. He can score from ridiculous angles. He's pretty decent in the air, actually, although I'd like to see a little bit more of that. Yeah, he looks a complete centre forward. So there's a real chance. If he's here another year, he's probably going to be in the top 2 centre forwards that I'll have seen at the club. That's how good he's going, that he's got the potential to be. And if he was here for another 5 or 6 years, he could break Shearer's Premier League record in terms of goals scored for Newcastle United.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, you judge him. He's on his way, Isak, and if he stays for another 2, 3, 4 seasons, he's going to be up there with the likes of Peter Beardsley, with Supermac, etc. It's incredible to see, how well he's done in such a short space of time. What he needs to sort out next season, hopefully, is the injuries. We need a full season out of him next year, don't we?
Absolutely. It's odd because I talk about Les Ferdinand and people forget Les was only here for 2 years.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not even in the top 25 goal scorers of all time for Newcastle.
Yeah, which is nuts, isn't it? I mean, he would have been quite comfortably if he'd stayed, which he should have done. That's not his fault.
He would be if you added cup goals, but league goals, he's not even in the top 25,
Yeah. So, I mean, we've seen some great strikers. We've seen some others that people forget about, like Mick Quinn. He knew where the onion bag was, didn't he? He knew how to score. He was top player. So, I mean, even going back to other sort of lesser strikers like Verratti and all those guys that I saw, they were good goal scorers. So we've always been blessed with a decent striker on most occasions. And Demba Ba was fabulous, proper good centre forward, but Isak's a level above. He's a level above. Cisse probably scored the greatest goals I've ever seen.
Certainly in recent times.
But yeah. I think he's probably in the top 3 centre forwards that I've seen at the club, and that's some praise, bearing in mind the amount of games he's missed.
Yeah. There was a question earlier on from Stephen Kennedy, and he was just wanting to know why are we letting players dictate whether or not they keep playing when injured? Shaw was coming off after 20 minutes, but said he was okay when it was obvious to all and sundry that he was far from fine. I mean, it's a good point, isn't it? We do seem to have done a bit of that this season. We almost seem to have allowed the player to dictate a little bit. Obviously, we're not privy to conversations in the training ground and between player and manager, but just from what we've seen and what we've heard from Eddie in the press conference, there does seem to have been a little bit of that. Certainly the Botman injury, for example, he confirmed, that the player didn't want to have surgery. I always felt in the old days. I always felt in the back in the day that it was down to the club. The club pay your wages. The club have you as their, not the possession, but the club own you. They've paid the money for you. They should give you the advice as to what's best for you. But it's the first time I've actually heard a player saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that." So maybe more. I don't know. Maybe there's more involvement now from players or from agents. Maybe they have more say. Maybe it's in his contract. Who knows?
I know surgeons do try not to give you an operation from personal experience. So a number of years ago, I've had 6 on one leg through football, and then on the other one I've had 1, and they were going to do another one, a minor op, and they sort of really, really didn't want to do it, and they didn't. And actually, to be fair to them, it's actually got better in terms of cartilage. But they try not to. I mean, I can't speak for the situation there. If it's a proper injury which he's had, you've got to get the operation. But I do know that surgeons will try not to if it's feasibly possible to do so. But if it's so blatantly obvious, as it was in his case, that he needed an operation and a big operation, then it's got to get done. It's got to get done. And unfortunately, as you rightly say, they pay his wages. And in some respects, the fact that he's out for such a long time through his own negligence, then he should have part of his wages removed. You know, because it's down to him. It's down
If you
to
start doing that, you'd be ducking Tonali as well.
Well, it sounds like they might have done, though, doesn't it? If you look at the accounts.
I don't know. I've not really gone through the accounts with a fine tooth comb, but
well, I'm just speculating here. Obviously, if anybody's watching, but yeah. I think there was some sort of. I know there's been some contract change somewhere along the line for somebody. So whether it's him, I don't know. But you would have thought so. The Tonali situation, it would not be unreasonable for the club to go back and say, "Listen, you're banned for a year, so we would like to have a different contract for a year. We'll still pay you a certain amount, but you can't get paid the full whack."
You would probably think that the way that they've done the contract, for example, for Bruno, this set of owners will have probably put something into a contract to suggest that should anything happen which is beyond our control, that a certain deduction of wages will apply. So these people are clever. I
think that will be the way they'll go for all of them now. Once bitten, as it were. They can't not really, can they? They can't not. And I think all other clubs will be doing that as well. It's not just Newcastle United. It'll be all clubs. That'll be part of one of the contract stipulations now.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Okay, lots of people talking about the stadium extension. Darren Lee says, good news on the stadium. Breaking news by Luke Edwards, of all people. Yeah, the Telegraph broke the story. Luke Edwards, the journalist. Les says, has everyone seen the concept images going around with the reports that after the feasibility study, the plan is to increase the Gallagher capacity by 8,000? Keith Richardson says, if the proposed stadium expansion is supposedly 8,000, is that enough? Does the cost justify that increase of only 8,000, or do you think a number of those will be corporate? Thanks. And Goatfather says, have you heard about the stadium expansion plans? And James Barron says, stadium expansion, totally underwhelmed and a great opportunity missed if true. We need a modern 70,000 capacity stadium to compete. Luke Edwards is wrong again. Look, I genuinely think that this is true. I think the feasibility study would have said short term, we do need to expand the stadium. The only part of the ground that they can expand without major reconstruction is the Gallagher's. It would be very simple to do. It might mean people sitting in the Gallagher's for part of the season will have no roof, but you'll be able to build from behind and extend like a cantilever over the top. It'll connect to the other stand, the Milburn stand, as the Leazes does. It'll look lopsided like Leeds United's ground, but short term, 8,000 supporters, 8,000 more supporters coming in, room for more corporate expansion, will bring in X amount of pounds. And short term, it's the right answer for me. 60,000 capacity stadium. Look, who says we need 70,000? Who says we need 80,000? We've got to start winning things on a regular basis before we build a stadium, I think. And I think if there is plans to build a stadium, there's so much to be taken into consideration. First of all, moving to Leazes Park, which would be probably the preferred option for us. It's rat infested. Go up there now. There's rats as big as cats at Leazes Park. It's not the Leazes Park that people were objecting about building on 20 odd years ago. But it's going to take time to do that. And I genuinely think the club will be looking at that as well. But I think short term, if you want more people in and you want those people to be in when Newcastle wins something, because believe you me, with the money that we've got, the players that we've got, we will win something soon. I genuinely think that this is the right way to do things short term. After that, let's get a plan in place to build a stadium, which means that people can still go to the match, build it away from St James's Park, hopefully on Leazes Park, and that's it. Rant over. That's where I am, Sid. I think if this is the plan, we haven't had official confirmation yet. I think it's the right one.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it'll be 10 years before they move. And I agree with everybody else. I like the option C that was going around on the internet recently. I thought that was the obvious choice. obvious choice, but I suspect there's not enough in play in terms of where would we go and all the rest of it and doing all the whole sort of background bits. So I think a short-term 5-7 year sort of extension of the Gallagher for now, and then long-term look to redevelop the whole ground and just move slightly further over, as option C showed recently. That would be my preferred choice all day long, and I think it looked fabulous. Yes, we'll have a lopsided stadium. The East Stand will remain ridiculously small. I personally think it'll all be corporate. I'll be amazed if any season tickets are issued at all. Absolutely stunned. It'll either be most corporate, and then the rest will be match by match release, because they get twice the amount of money. So I do not see it going as season tickets. I really don't. I'll be amazed if they release any more season tickets. I'll be amazed. I don't see it happening. The only time I think they'll have any more season tickets is if Newcastle move grounds. If we move grounds to a 70,000 seater, which I think is feasible, but as you say, I think you've got to start winning stuff. You know, you don't want to see 10,000 empty seats playing Burnley on a Wednesday night. Let's put it that way. And I genuinely think. I genuinely, yeah. I've lost my train of thought.
Well, you're saying you don't think there'll be season tickets. I genuinely.
No, I don't think there'll be season tickets. That's it. Sorry, thank you. I don't think there'll be season tickets because they earn twice the amount of money per person going to the match. So financially for them, do I think it's right? No, absolutely not. But I mean, my personal view, if I want to say this, is I genuinely think those people who gave up their season tickets in the last 4 or 5 years should have the first option to come back to the game, and maybe do it in reverse order. It's not hard to find out who was there in the September and the August before the takeover and go back over and give those people the option to come back. I don't think it's hard at all to do that. The data's there. It doesn't take much of an algorithm to find them. That will be my personal choice, and give those people the option to come back to the ground. And because they're probably all long-term fans in the past anyway, and it'll create the atmosphere rather than just let, as it is, you know, everybody gets the chance to go. But I mean, you know, there are some people who just rock up, pay a lot of money and don't say a word. I mean, I've got a seat next to me where there's a different person every week. Someone will be sometimes cheering and clapping and shouting along, and other people will just be on the phone all the time taking videos, you know. And you're thinking, I mean, everyone's entitled to go. I'm not sort of, you know, having to go, people not allowed to go, but it's just a bit weird. I would like a greater proportion of people to get the opportunity to go get a ticket to go back again. I think that would be the right and just thing to do. But I don't see it happening whilst we're at the current ground. I just don't see it happening.
I think there'll be a percentage of season tickets. I think it'll be a gesture on behalf of the club. Those seats that they're going to build are going to be in the gods. You're talking about being up as being up in the gods. I think there will be corporate. Of course, there will be corporate, but I think there'll be a change around. I think things will get moved. There'll be new corporate areas next season. They're already talking about it. I've already heard from some contacts at the club who said, yeah, there's going to be this seat, that's going to be changed. The 10-year deal's got one more year. Once that 10-year deal's up, that's going to change the goalpost, because suddenly those people who are paying, 560 quid for a season ticket are going to be paying £1,000. So, those kind of things it's all going to increase the revenue. But I do think there may be more standing. There may be more standing in there as well. They may move the away supporters at some point, from where they are to a different part of the stadium. I don't think they'll end up in the Gallagher, but they may decide to move the away supporters from where they are as well. And who knows? It's exciting times. It's going to be a while before we see this happen. But we need official confirmation first. That's what we need. We do need official confirmation, and that essentially will come, I'm sure, this week or the week after. I think it was this week we were expecting to hear something. It's no surprise to hear that there's people leaking it now, and it's coming out. It seems to be the way that these things happen at football clubs now. Things filter out and whatever. But listen, I think we'll be happy. I'm looking forward to hearing the noise when the first goal goes in, when the 60,000 in the ground said, because the last time that happened, Hughie Gallagher came back with Chelsea, I think, and we had 63,000 in. I think that's still our record attendance when Hughie Gallagher came back to play play against Newcastle for Chelsea.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? I do. I'm intrigued. But I mean, the fact that it's come from Luke Edwards. If Luke Edwards tells me the day of the week, tells me today was Tuesday, I'd have to go and check my calendar just to make sure. Let's put it that way.
He's got some things right. I mean, Luke and I have had our like spats and fallouts in the past. We got over that after the takeover went through. But yeah, I mean, he's not my go-to journalist. I've got to be perfectly honest. I tend to go more for Craig Hope's reports. His stuff is usually fairly on the mark, and Liam Kennedy and the lads at Newcastle World, they're pretty reliable as well. There are one or two decent journalists out there who come up with some good exclusives. 68,000, I stand corrected, David. I knew you would know the crack there. We'll go 68,000. So we're gonna have to wait a little longer to equal that. But yeah, still having 60,000 in the ground, David, it's going to be quite phenomenal. I hope they do get to 60,000, by the way, and not 59,995 or something like that. It'll be a big thing having 60,000 in the ground. But looking forward to it. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Les Lumsden said it was a Wednesday night. There we go, Wednesday night. Thank you for that. All right, we're going to have a little break with the ads, and then we'll bring in Rob in for the music. Speak to you soon. A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria, their website mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers in our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel, and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member, for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com, or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. And it's a big welcome to Rob from Give Up the Ghost. How are you, Rob?
I'm really good, Steve. How are you both? Are you all right?
Good, Rob. Good to see you.
Good to see you. What album are you bringing us this week, Rob?
Like I mentioned last week, because losing Vincent Frail from Restless Natives and doing Big Country, and there's a few of the variations of the vinyl I have of the same album. Wow. It's their debut album. It's going to start off on a negative. Badly produced by Steve Lillibite. This was 1983, so it had like 5 singles. Harvest Home was the first one, Fields of Fire, and The Big Country, and Chance. They actually supported the Jam in the Jam's final ever tour. I didn't realise that till recently. So it opens up within The Big Country. It's a classic opener, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the sticks, straight into the song. I know the lyrics are really good. In a big country, dreams stay with you like a lover's voice, fires a mountainside. Really, really good. Brilliant backing vocals as well by the bassist Tony Butler. It's a shame he doesn't get back with the band. I don't know what happened there. Again, bad production on that song, I've just got to be honest. Track number 2, well produced, good final mix, really big sound. It's a punk influence sort of guitar riff on it. Great final mix on this, brilliant lyrics. I mean, again, I love the line, I wouldn't want to go home on a night like this. I pull everything inwards, but everything's loose. Take what you want from that in life and emotions. And you've got Chance. This is like a big classic anthemic song that they play live. It's "Oh Lord, where did the feeling go?" Everyone goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Not too keen on this song. It's a very personal song. It's quite a slow ballad, but again, it was a single. And you've got 1,000 Stars. Brilliant song. It's a sort of my kind of song for this. A big, open sound. Really, really good recording. Final mix on the drums. Plenty floor tom instead of the hi-hat. It's my sort of style of drumming. Really strong, punchy bass lines. So naturally and obviously sort of Skids-esque on this sounding guitar parts. It's their signature sound, what Stuart recreated. Then you've got The Storm. Absolutely love this song. It's a slow brooding start, sort of Ebo effect on the guitar. Love this song. It's got a Celtic feel, so a bit of a folk feeling as well. I can't praise this song enough. It's like 7 minutes of perfection for me. If you want to hear it, go on the tube on YouTube. It's on the tube. Absolutely outstanding performance. Then you've got Harvest Home. This is the Big Country's debut single. Again, lyrics just as you sow, we shall reap. It's just simple things that mean a lot, open up a lot of imagination for me. Nice twin guitar in effect from Stuart and Bruce Watson. Bruce Watson's son Jamie now plays with Big Country on second guitar. Good solid percussion again from Mark Brzezicki. There's lots of people don't know how to pronounce his name, but brilliant drummer, really good drummer, solid again. Uses a lot like 10-inch splash cymbals. I tend to do that. I'll have them in between my toms or to my right of my hi-hat or under my China crash. It's like a safety cymbal. If you're going to miss something, you'll just aim for it. It's like a comfort thing. It's like a chanting theme song, this one. Really good. You've got Lost Patrol. Again, great song. Open sound again. This was a well-produced song. Quite aggressive on the vocals. It's quite a lot of instrumental sections on this one. I love the Ebo again on Stuart Adamson's guitar sections. Close Action next. Again, another good production song on this one. It's not all bad. Top Drawer, again, the drum mix is brilliant on this. It's great clarity. You hear the China crashes, the splashes. It just picks them up. It's great. Again, another great line in this song. I will carry you home with a tear in my eye. It's just nice, quite powerful. Fields of Fire, not impressed with the sound on this one. It just sounds really tinny. I don't know. I mean, the versions I've got a lot of them, and even on CD, it just doesn't sound right. It just sounds a bit tinny, if you know what I mean. It's too much treble on it. It's a song now, it does sound dated, but I mean, you'll be familiar with the bagpipe atmospheric guitar work. It's actually an anti-Falklands war song. Then you've got Porro Man, final song, 10 out of 10 for me, this one. 7 minutes again of top drawer musicianship. Twin guitar opening, solid bass, tom work. I can't give enough credit for this song, the structure on it. Sort of like a huge dramatic ending. Again, another line in it, give us iron, give us rope. Again, simple. So overall, I mean, it's the poorest produced Big Country album for me. Again, the Seer and Steel Time is so much better. I mean, it's the same with Iron Maiden's debut album. It sounded different from Killers, their second album, but it happens, learning process. There's some genius on it. For me, it's Close Action, Porro Man, Lost Patrol, and The Storm. It's 8 out of 10 just for those songs. Obviously, we lost Stuart, I think it's about 20 odd years now, maybe 23 years ago, we lost Stuart Adamson. His daughter, Kirsten, she still tours. I used to drink in Stuart's pub in Dunfermline. It's called Tappy Toories. It's still on the go, but they're not allowed to put any sort of Big Country or Dunfermline athletics sort of memorabilia on the walls. Adamson estate don't wish that, which is a bit unfortunate. I mean, you do get like pop stars and rock stars going there. I don't know if anybody's heard of the news with Mike Peters recently, yesterday or the day before, said sad news, still alive, but there's pictures of him in there as well. It was a great wee pub, really good pub. So it leaves me with a little bit of memorabilia. It's just my fully signed copy of the Seer, the 4 members, got signed outside the Edinburgh Playhouse. It was 1985-86 tour. So that's me. That's my review. I hope you all enjoyed it. And so for next week, I would like to ask people if they could put in the comments what they'd like me to review now. So I want to sort of broaden my horizons on something a little bit different, possibly.
Okay, good stuff. Here's the album. Here's the album he didn't review.
Yes.
I'm not going to give that a listen. Sid, what are you bringing to the table today?
I love the crossing. I have to say, I was a big country fan. I've got Stuart Adamson's autograph on my wall for Into the Valley. So I've got the Skids signing Into the Valley. And, so it's great. Got it on one of my walls. So it's great. I mean, it was always the Celtic bands. You had them, The Alarm. I was a huge fan of The Alarm. Declaration, that's absolutely magnificent. Simple Minds and U2, they were the big four, really, of that sort of era. Just all great bands, actually, in totally different ways. So, yeah, big fan. I've gone where Tim asked me to review The Stranger by Billy Joel, so I have. Is it Joel or Joel? How do we pronounce it?
I've always said Joel, but...
I've always gone Joel as well, and then my mates, oh, no, it's Billy Joel. Billy Joel is the way I do it, but, you know, I'm probably wrong. Released in 1977. It's a terrific album. I'm quite a big fan of his anyway, so it is a great album. So it's a real pleasure to listen to this again after a little while. This was his last chance album because his previous album had flopped. So the record company were going to drop him if this wasn't a hit. And of course, it was a monster album. It was huge. Recorded with the famous producer Phil Ramone, and the sound is great. The production on most of the 70s albums is normally great. You get that beautiful big fat sound, and it's superb. And the strings do have that fat lush sound as well. There's only 9 songs on it, and every single one of them is brilliant. Starts off with Moving Out, or Anthony's Song, which is just great. It's really catchy. All the songs, by the way, tell a story. All right, that's one of the big things on the album. He's a great storyteller, and it's really superb. Really good, catchy song. The Stranger is a great song. It's reprised at the end of the album as well, which is superb. I love that sort of thing. And it's actually been sampled by loads of rappers as well as Snoop Dogg and that, you know, which is a bit odd, but there you have it. Of course, you've got the massive hit Just the Way You Are, which Paul McCartney once said is the one song he wished he'd written. And you can tell it sounds like a McCartney Wings type of song, actually. Covered superbly, of course, by Barry White, who did an incredible version of it. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is over 7 minutes long, but it's magnificent. And that's the first side done. It's just a great side here. It really is. Side 2 kicks off with Vienna, which is bizarrely his fourth most streamed song. I was really shocked. I was really surprised. It's about his father. It's really quite a sad tale, actually. Go and check it out. It's superb. Only the Good Die Young is about a lad trying and failing to seduce a girl. And it sounds almost like an early Springsteen type song. It sounds like something that could have been on The Wild and the Innocent. It's a great song, really good. She's Always a Woman is one of the greatest ballads ever written. It really is. It's a masterpiece. It always reminds me of my wife as well. But it's just magnificent. It really is incredible. The vocals and the chorus, it's a 10 out of 10 song all day long. Get It Right the First time, superb. And then the last song, Everybody Has a Dream, is lovely. And with the reprise at the end of The Stranger, it's a fantastic album. And he's got some great albums as well. You know, Glass Houses is magnificent in a totally different way, a bit more of a new wave sort of album. But this is The Stranger. If you're looking for an album to get into them, this is the one to try because it's superb. It's a 5-star album all day long, magnificent, love it. And it was a real pleasure to go back and listen to it again. So thanks, Tim.
And what book are you bringing us today?
I've gone with Miriam Margolyes. Quite a controversial character. I love her. I love her politics. I know a lot of people don't. She's very much on the left. I think she's very, very funny. If you get the chance, listening to the audio book, because she does it herself, she's hilarious in terms of she does loads of accents. She talks about her school days. She talks about her university days. She talks about how appalling the likes of John Cleese and those were towards her. Were abysmal during the Cambridge Footlights era. The treatment of her because she was a woman, she feels anyway, was absolutely awful. She says Tim Brooke Taylor was the only one who later on, many years later, came up to apologise to her. She's got no time for Cleese, no time for Bill Oddie, sadly, you know, who I loved as a kid, and various others. But she's really funny. She talks about all her voiceover characters. You forget, of course, she did the voiceovers in The Water Margin. She did the voices in Monkey. All those sort of TV shows. She's a great impersonator, and her voices are magnificent. She used to do what was that chocolate bar with a rabbit that used to sort of
Caramel.
Caramel, thank you, well done. Cadbury's Caramel. She was the rabbit.
Oh, you put us off now. I used to fancy that rabbit.
So she's very funny. She's very forthright. Her views are very, very much one-sided. She was great in Blackadder. Yes, she was. She swears loads in it, and it's magnificent. It's a great laugh. Really, really good book. Give it a chance if you're into that sort of thing. I loved it. So there we go.
Great stuff. We've had a couple of suggestions, Rob. I don't know whether you've got a pen to hand. Silk Degrees by Boz Skaggs, please, Rob. So it's there. I'll put it on the screen. Silk Degrees by Boz Skaggs. There's a review. Anybody else? Anything by Feeder, says Darren Lee.
Feeder. Yeah. And
Derek says System of a Down, Toxicity.
Very clever band. Yeah.
So there's something. And
okay,
let's go with the Communards because Ian's been listening to them this week. Anything by the Communards, you go and pick one by the Communards. So there's your next 4 weeks.
Jimmy Snodo's a great singer, actually. So there you have it.
He's a small town boy, but I like him.
Hey!
Rob, as always, mate, a pleasure to have you on. What's happening with the band? Anything? Any updates?
Yeah, it's now 3:30. By 2:45, I'll be setting up my kit. It takes me about an hour and a half to set up my kit. So I'll go and do that and then hang about and wait for the guys. So we're rehearsing tonight. I think we've got about 3 or 4 rehearsals left. It's going to be mobbed because it's Johnny's debut with us. It's going to be absolutely mobbed, and so we're opening MoFest. So
well done, mate.
Festival.
Always the case with the drummer. See, that's why being a singer is dead easy. I can just rock up, bring me guitar, bring me harmonicas, and
yeah, I know.
This is it. You see, this is it. And, drummers are like goalkeepers. They're mad as a box of frogs.
That's correct.
That's it. Anything by Run Rig, Alan McKenzie says as well.
Yeah.
And Run Rig list. And for the bookworms, Getting a Hold of Life, which is Keith Richards' autobiography.
Yeah, it's quite funny actually. Yeah.
My mate's actually one of the security team for the Stones this year. So I've seen you, Tim. You're mentioning they're in the States at the minute. Yeah, he's in the States at the minute looking after them. I'm getting some great stories from him, which is great. None, unfortunately, which I can share. But yeah, he's having a great time. So thanks again, Rob. We will have you on next week, mate, and look forward to it. Take care, pal.
Okay, and 2-0 for the Toon on the weekend, Saturday.
I hope you're right, mate. Take care. Yeah. See you soon.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Great to have Rob.
I might do the Stones next week, actually. Then I might do the Stones.
Yeah, have a look at it, mate. Well worth the look, I think. Okay, let's look ahead to the Burnley match. Rob's given us his prediction, 2-0. It's an away game, of course. Vincent Kompany's still in charge down there. They've stuck by their man. He's got a chance of getting them out of relegation position.
Amazing, that, isn't it? I would never have predicted that a few weeks ago.
It's a good old-fashioned 3 o'clock kickoff, so no live television coverage on the usual networks, shall we say. This is Eddie Howe's return, of course, to Burnley. He's managed down there, of course. Kieran Trippier, whether he's available or not, will be returning to his old club as well if he is. Although I imagine that he's not going to be back until the Brighton game. This is his 100th Premier League game for Newcastle. Where has that gone?
Wow.
And in that, so he's now looking for his 49th victory. His other Premier League games have seen 25 draws, 26 defeats, making him Newcastle United's second most successful manager in the reformed top tier behind Kevin Keegan. Assuming he keeps his place, Martin Dubravka will make his 150th Premier League appearance for Newcastle. Dan Burn, meanwhile, is 1 game away from completing a century of Magpie outings in all competitions.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible. A little bit of early team news from Burnley. Aaron Ramsey, Jordan Bear, Nathan Redmond, and Emil Al-Dakhil all out of the game at the weekend, but there could be a recall for Luca Kalesho. Burnley are undefeated in 3 games. They've been beaten just once in their last 8 matches, and at home they've won 1 and drawn the other 2 of their recent games. Referee has been announced. That is Anthony Taylor. It's his 4th Newcastle game of the season for the Manchester Whistler. None of his games have been on Tyneside. He did take charge of the 2-2 draw at Wolves. He was back for the 4-2 defeat at Liverpool and the 3-2 away win at Nottingham Forest. VAR is in operation, and it'll be John Brooks on VAR. So we said earlier, if Newcastle start the way they started against Sheffield United, you know, we could find ourselves in trouble down there. My mind hasn't changed on that. However, I do expect Newcastle to win this game at the weekend. I think it'll be tough. I think it'll be tight. I'll be really interested to see who comes back. Almiron apparently could be back this weekend. Will Joe Linton be fit? Gone very quiet on Joe Linton. Yeah, and you know what I would do? And I know I don't get paid the big bucks to do it. I'd go right on the offensive with this, and I'd start with Isak and Gordon and Callum Wilson. I'd really shake it up at the weekend and go with all 3 up front and really hit them hard at the start. Put them in that place early on. Show them who's the big boys and get them out the way early doors. That's what I would do. Quieten the crowd, shut them up, and stop their confidence building. Because if we give them an inkling that they've got an opportunity to get something out of that game, we're in trouble.
Yeah, my worry is our away form is just abysmal. It's been abysmal all year. We've had a little blip where it was pretty good for about 4 or 5 games, and then it's back to being terrible. I mean, Palace, we could still be playing there now and we wouldn't score. We were just outclassed, you know. And I suspect I'm normally quite optimistic, but I've gone for a draw. I've gone for 2-2. I don't see us winning. I don't see us winning again away from home this season. I just don't see it happening. I think they'll all be draws. And it's just my fear of, I don't know what's mentally going on with regards to the away situation when they turn up. Whereas at home, you're confident we're going to go out and win. I feel it could be anybody at home. But away, they just they turn into almost like a different team. You know, the lack of confidence. The way they get bullied in the centre of the park. So I'm really unsure. I've gone for 2-2. I fear the worst is the honest answer. I just don't think we've been good enough away from home, and that's probably cost us a number of positions. I mean, don't get us wrong. The injuries have cost us, for me, being in the top 4. I think we'd have been top 4 without any major injuries this season, and I think that's obviously affected our away form, and we're in. I just feel like they're in such a rut now. I find it hard to almost break out of it. Burnley are not a great team. It's typical that we didn't play them 3 months ago. I think we'd have battered them, but now they're on a bit of a roll. They've sort of got their heads up a little bit. Yeah, I think it'll be a draw. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I see it. I agree totally with you. You're welcome, Tim. It was a great album. The way I see it is I would do exactly what you say in terms of going for it and just charging at them. You know, just literally let's dive in and go for it. What have you got to lose? You know, just go for it. We've got probably the best striker in Europe at the moment. Where we've also got a very good, looked very fit Callum Wilson the other day. Take him off after 60 minutes. You've got a great sub who can come on in Barnes, who looks... There's going to be big decisions about him next year in terms of, does he start regularly or is he going to be like a super sub? I hope he's not just a super sub. He looks a lot more than that. And then you've got Gordon, who should be on the plane for the Euros without a doubt. So we've got a super attack. I mean, frightening up front at the moment. As you say, if we hit them early, then we'll win. I do think that. But if they score first, I do see it being a draw. I do. So...
David Cook says, did the harmonica player, have you heard or seen of Mark Feltham at all? He's brilliant. That's just completely off the cuff. I haven't heard of him.
I haven't, no.
He means said, not did, of course.
No.
Tim, again, back to football. I fancy 3-1 on Saturday, says Tim. I I always give me prediction on Friday, but I do think we'll win. So I'll hold my peace until Friday and come forward. But let's see what the press conference brings. Let's see who's available, and let's see what he's got between.
The other thing as well, Steve, here is it's a funny one. I don't want what other people think about this. Is we are clearly going to sell players in the summer.
Yeah.
Are we going to risk playing them with so few games left? You know, the likes of Wilson. If Wilson gets injured, that's probably him. The seal gone out of the window.
He's going to have to. He's going to have to play though, because it's the financial implication, and it's in Europe. Europe, no matter which European competition, obviously, the bigger the European competition, the bigger the player you can attract. But Europe's a necessity for Newcastle to continue. I think in that upward spiral. Okay, it sounds stupid because if we go into the Europa Conference League, it's a drop down. It's not moving up the ladder, but it's continuity. It's being in Europe. It's going on travels. It's going on journeys. It's picking up experience, but it attracts players.
I'm assuming. Sorry, Steve, I'm talking over you there. I'm assuming the club have got it written into contracts with sponsors that they guarantee Europe they get more money because apparently PRS, I didn't know whatever it's called. I didn't realise that with the new situation, if you're not in Europe, you get 85% of your potential outlay to spend. If you are in Europe, you get 70%. 50% is a hell of a cut. So I'm assuming that must be counteracted by the other sponsorship. Otherwise,
you would imagine so. I mean, we heard on the documentary when they talked when they were doing the deal with Adidas. They were more or less saying, the aim is to be in the Champions League year after year. I mean, Adidas will want to see that. They want their brand at the biggest competitions. You don't get the same coverage on Europa Conference. You still get coverage, but it's not peak times. It's not the biggest. It's not the right. It's not the competition that everyone follows probably until right at the end. But for me, it's just a key. Being in Europe, doesn't matter which European competition. Newcastle will have learned a hell of a lot from that group of death this time round, and to go in against these other teams, they know what it's like to journey. Make travel from continents and come back and then prepare. All of this team will be a lot better for that experience. They'll be a lot wiser, and it's just trying to attract players. A young up and coming player who might have had a couple of good years in the Premier League. If he gets the opportunity to come to Newcastle or Chelsea, if we pip Chelsea and Manchester United for a European slot this year, then they're gonna think about, well, actually Newcastle's a big club. They've got great support. They're gonna pay some decent money. I'm going to be adored by those supporters, and I've got the opportunity of being in that team that wins the first trophy. It's a bigger sell. Manchester United, yes, at this moment in time, they're a bigger club. They've had such a head start on us, but Europe's important. It doesn't matter which European competition it is. And I've probably changed my mindset because, I'm thinking, oh God, but I can see the wisdom in it. I can see the reason that we are chasing it. And I'm pleased that Eddie Howe and the team have got the bit between their teeth in the last 10 games, and they finally, after that blip, have gone, right, let's make a go of it, lads. And we've got players coming back in the next 4 games. The one thing we've got is, instead of players taking their foot off the gas, we've got players wanting to get back out and have a game of football because they haven't been playing for a while. So we're the complete polar opposite.
I mean, Big Joe will be a huge plus. I'm just thinking of the likes of Miggy and that, who, will he make a huge difference anyway? I'm not sure. But in terms of moving them on, which there will be, it's
I get where you're coming from.
That injury risk, because Trippier's another one who might well go in the summer. We don't know. Nobody knows. Would I like to see him go? No. Will he? Possibly. So it's going to be interesting, I think, is the phrase I'm going to use. And because if we lose a player and they're out for quite a while, then they're not going to, as summed up with Lascelles, for example. They certainly wouldn't be giving him a new contract if they know who's going to be out for a year. So,
yeah. What do you think about? Where was that? There it is, Mozza. She's talking about Manchester United players being told they're mostly up for sale. What have they got to fight for in the last few games? Someone else to play Champions League football next season. I mean, but is it Rashford who's been linked? With a move away. 25 million's the price tag. So that of course created a bit of a talk like amongst Newcastle fans in WhatsApp groups that I'm in about, would you take Rashford? Would he be the kind of player? From what I've seen of him in the last couple of seasons, I've seen a temperamental player who one minute he's on fire, the next minute he's not. The counter argument from a lot of my mates was, once Eddie Howe gets a hold of him, you know, he'll have the fire in his belly. He'll be a lot better player. Would you take Rashford?
Yep, absolutely. He's a quality player. He scores goals. Would I take him when he just allows a player to dawdle past him? Absolutely not. You know, so that, as you rightly say, is the caveat. It's the fact that you've got to get a guarantee that, you know, we can do this, that, and the other, and that does have enough confidence to convince himself that he's the man who can therefore transform this player to reach his potential, because he hasn't reached his potential. Rashford's hit about 75% of what he's capable of. Rashford could be a world-class footballer if he put his mind to it. Sometimes talent comes too easy to players, and they're given too much, too early, too easily, and therefore they step off the gas and they've got nothing to really strive for. And there's an argument that Rashford could be in that category. But would I take him? Yeah, I would. I would absolutely take him. He's a game changer. He can win games, you know, and he's also an alternative to Gordon, and gives Gordon to flip onto the other wing.
Split opinion. He'd blow our wage structure wide open. Eddie would do a job with Rashford. Rashford's garbage, says Craig. Rashford has pace, says Darren, but needs change away from Man U. I would take Rashford, says Tom. Jonathan reckons we'll finish 5th this season, just going off track. I worry he's going down the same path as Lingard, says Gary. And if Rashford doesn't have the right attitude at his hometown club, then he'll never do it. Could Trippier do a job?
Can I just add to that, though? People said that about Gordon, didn't they? You know, people said that about Gordon. And let's be honest, the lad's been magnificent. And I was one of those who said, "Oh, I didn't want him." You know, didn't want him. And he's absolutely turned my opinion up 100%, 180 degrees, and he's been magnificent.
Yeah.
So why not? And sometimes the dressing room could be so bad that it might stink the place out. And if you go somewhere else where the dressing room's united and you've got this different feel and a different groove, then you're going to sort of go in with it, you know, and you may well, you know, he's a young lad as well still. Yes, he's reached an age now where he should know better, but, you know, you're not too old to learn and you're not too old to change. So he's not reached that stage where he's 30 odd and he's never going to change. So why not? That's what I say. Why not?
Look, if you could get him for 25 million, which is what people are saying that he could go for, I mean, that's frightening. You know, as you say, he's proven he's won things as well. He's got a winner's mentality.
Or 15 million and the director of football.
ESM had a better attitude rather than Rashford. Sorry, I'd never dissed Gordon. Exact opposite. They're nothing like each other, says Craig. Tom reckons he's worth 25 million. It's one which will cause issues, and another positive, he'd hit the ground running in the Premier League, you know. Another negative, would Manchester United do business with us after what we've done with Ashworth? We've replied to their Lingard situation with the Ashworth situation. So, you know, I'm not sure there's a relationship between Newcastle and Manchester United that can be repaired anytime soon. Rashford loving the lifestyle too much, probably needs to go abroad. Darren says Rashford contract running down. Didn't PSG bid 60 million for him last season? Rashford would be a 25 million pound headache. He'd be a nightmare. So it's one which has got people talking. I don't think it'll become I don't
see it happening, but I would definitely take him without a shadow of a doubt.
Tom says great show. Thank you, Tom. Enjoy the Dunstan match tonight. Good luck to Dunstan tonight. And that's it. We will be back next week. I won't be live next week, but Sid and I are going to record Sid's Dream Team. So next Tuesday, 6 o'clock, Sid's Dream Team will be revealed as he's part of the regular crew now. It's time to get his Dream Team out there. And there's I've seen it already. There's a few surprises in there. But Sid, thanks very much, mate. Look forward to seeing you live again in 2 weeks' time. And give us a quick prediction for the Burnley game. What did you say?
I said 2-2. 2-2.
Okay. Thanks, mate. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, pal.
Take care. Bye-bye, folks.